Welcome back, Pilgrims. This week, we've got another dose of innovative startups making waves. Leading off, we'll break down Batch's $9 million Series A. The startup is hoping to crack into the $200 billion group travel market by streamlining coordination of bachelorette trips and group travel experiences.
Yeah, and next you will hear about Axios HQ, the tech spinoff of popular news provider Axios, hot off a $20 million Series A led by Glade Brook Capital Partners.
And after that, we'll cover the popular coffee chain Blank Street Coffee and their subscription model, hot on the heels of their frothy $20 million funding round.
Getting frothy here. And to round out this week's dose, we have our first ever New Zealand-based startup, Halter, a SaaS provider of solar-powered cow collars that help farmers better manage their livestock. The company received funding led by Bessemer Partners. And with that, we are back at it after our South by Southwest two-part series, back with a traditional dose of startups, so let's get right into it.
The views, statements, and opinions expressed herein by the hosts and their guests are their own, and their appearance on the podcast should not be construed as reflecting the views or implied endorsement of Independent Brokerage Solutions, LLC, or any of its officers, employees, or agents. The statements made herein should not be considered an investment opinion, advice, or recommendation regarding securities of any company. This podcast is produced solely for informational purposes and is not to be construed as an offer to sell or the solicitation of an offer to buy a security.
You see here, kid, you gotta just go for it. Don't think about what comes after or what came before. You just gotta bend your knees, take a deep breath, and jump.
This is Venture Pill, your weekly dose of startups and venture capital. We break down recent startups in the news and interview founders and investors to help you stay informed in the evolving world of venture. All right, leading things off this week, we have Batch, a platform that helps plan bachelorette trips and group travel experiences that just announced a $9 million Series A. The round was led by Pritzker Group, joined by Corazon Capital, Freestyle VC, Oversubscribed Ventures, and more. So, launched in 2020, Batch aims to solve the hassle and potential logistics nightmare that comes with organizing group travel. And any of those that have tried to do it, we've been there. We know how much of a nightmare it can become. So through the platform, groups can discover, plan, and book trips all in one place.
Yeah, so a little bit more about how it works. Within the app, you invite friends to plan your upcoming trip. Now, right now, there's been a lot of bachelorette parties. Here, I'm surprised down below here on 6th Street, we haven't seen any bachelorette parties riding across the way on those beer bicycle bar things. But anyway, I'm sure that's one of the things you can plan on this app.
Yeah, probably in a couple hours, too, they'll be cycling around.
Right,
here.
yeah, as the sun goes down, the bachelorette parties come out. No, they're out during the day, too. That's it's not exclusive to the night. From there, the group will discuss, hey, what do you want to do? What does everybody want to do? Determine the best location and find that happy medium with everybody involved in terms of costs and interests. And once the details are solidified, it's going to put together an itinerary, and you can use the app's expense splitting feature to track costs of the trip, which is think about all the costs that you're going to want to split with people. Making that seamless is a big value add.
Definitely a very useful feature there, and I think I saw while exploring the website as well, you can create polls and just all these different ways to streamline the booking and planning experience. They really got a good thing going here. Another feature is the app has a marketplace that allows you to book curated experiences through the app. So think Airbnb experiences, but through Batch. Yeah. So you can book, again, the beer bike. There are other bachelorette party experiences available, but we'll get into some of those experiences in a little bit. Currently, Batch provides local, memorable experiences in major U.S. travel destinations like Las Vegas, Austin, as we've mentioned, Nashville, and will be available in 30 cities by the end of Q1 2023, so right about now.
Yeah, so deep in growth mode right now. Some examples of bookable experiences through Batch is basically party buses, yacht charters, private chefs, goat yoga, that's a personal favorite.
Everyone's favorite.
ATV excursions and many more.
Right.
So you got
truly the full spectrum.
Yeah, it's really the gamut, I would say. From goat yoga to yacht charters. A little bit more on the numbers. Some impressive stats here, as we always like to cover, and Batch is no joke. So they're approaching 500,000 parties planned in the app and 2 million users to date.
Yeah, that's
wow.
A lot of parties, a lot of partiers right there. That's really impressive. Additionally, highlighting some of their recent traction, over the past 6 months, the company has doubled the number of bookable experiences on its platform, so from 800 to 1,600 and counting, and they plan to reach 3,000 experiences in 2023. Wow. So the explosive growth continues.
Incredible. Yeah, so with the new funding, that's going to pour fuel on this fire. The company will make strategic hires in different places, and it will really allow them to lay groundwork towards expanding the platform beyond just the scope of bachelorette parties.
Right, and that was something that they honed in on some of the articles and statements from the founders, is they basically want to be associated with any fun experiences that you look to book, any kind of group travel, and they're actually rolling out a new website. So a lot of what we've mentioned has been strictly through the app, but they're currently building and developing a new website. And so with that, the company wants to become the top destination for any group looking to plan a fun weekend. So bachelorette parties, of course, are more of their bread and butter as of now, but think about golf trips, girls trips, anything in between, really, spring break. They just want to be the logistics center for these trips. Yeah. And as we mentioned in the intro, group travel is a $200 billion market, yet it still remains challenging for groups to coordinate travel, and the market is still leaves a lot of room for people to tap into it, and that's exactly what Batch is looking to do here.
Yeah, for sure. And it reminds us a little bit of Jonah Fialco, if you haven't listened to episode 45. What used to be Batch Bracket is now Bracketology. Just kind of adjacently reminds me, maybe tangentially is a better word, reminds me of the rebrand that they did from a bachelorette thing to a broader company. Now they're on the fantasy gaming for reality TV. It's completely different, but maybe we'll see Batch rebrand to be just more associated with broader group travel. Who knows?
Yeah, it's definitely a nice vague blueprint for Batch to follow footsteps in.
Take a page out of the Fialco book if the Batch founders are listening. Okay, for our second company of today's dose, it's going to be Axios HQ, which just announced a $20 million Series A that brought them to nearly $100 million valuation. The round was led by Gladebrook Capital Partners with participation from Graycroft Partners. A little background on Axios, which may sound familiar to many of you pilgrims out there, the popular news platform. A special shout out to Sammy, a longtime pilgrim and friend of the pod, who's a writer for Axios. She suggested that to us, that we should cover them on the next dose we had.
Right. Shout out to a loyal pilgrim, and also a reminder to any pilgrims out there, if you've got a cool company, let us know about it.
Yeah, you'll see it on the show soon.
And so a little bit more of an origin story on Axios. The company was founded in 2017 by Roy Schwartz and Jim Vandehee with a simple goal of providing people with easily consumable news while always putting the audience first. Something that you and I here at Venture Pill can certainly
Pilgrims
resonate
know
with.
they always come first.
Number one, always. And then always. And then fast forward to 2022, and the company had grown substantially to a point where they were acquired by Cox Enterprises for $525 million. Pretty good.
Pretty good. I will say, if there are any acquirers out there,
that's the ballpark.
Yeah, we would accept anything in the realm.
Right. Yeah. That said, just a year earlier, so in 2021, Axios HQ was launched as a separate tech division of the company, and upon the acquisition, it was spun off into its own entity, with Cox staying on as a minority investor and the Axios founders staying on as majority owners.
Yeah, a pretty cool scenario there. We haven't really seen that with many tech companies, or media companies, I should say, before spinning off a tech arm. But what exactly is the tech that Axios HQ has been developing, working on? Well, given their expertise in the largely email-driven news, they are working on AI that helps users sharpen their writing with regard to better wording. Maybe I could have used it in that phrasing right there.
Chisel away that sentence.
Yeah, exactly. It also offers suggestions, though, for pictures, headlines, and summaries, and can strengthen people's or companies' communications. So that's their bread and butter there.
Right. A pretty comprehensive content conglomerate solution here. And they have a pretty legit client base, which, again, isn't surprising given their wide-reaching audience on the news side of things. According to the company, they've got about 500 enterprise clients, including some very notable ones like Sweetgreen and Edelman, which all adds up to about $7 million in ARR, annual recurring revenue.
Yeah, so no joke there as a standalone venture-backable tech company.
Right.
$7 million in ARR is no joke. And so as the Pilgrims know, though, many of you out there, AI is just absolutely dominating headlines.
Everywhere.
Generally, mainstream news, but also venture. Every other company, it seems, that we see, somehow AI related. We have also covered several AI companies that we've loved over the past several months. To name a few, Descript, the editing software we use for AI and video editing, Jasper AI, a local Austin company, and then also Lavender, which is most similar to what Axios HQ is providing, helping people write emails better and more quickly. So a competitive landscape, to say the least.
Yeah, that's putting it lightly. You and I were actually talking to our friend and loyal Pilgrim, Josh, today, and he's very plugged into the evolving AI space, and it's just remarkable. I mean, when it was first coming to be, there was obviously a lot of innovation, disruption happening, and you would see these charts of here's AI companies doing this and this. Fast forward a couple months now, and it's
multiplying.
It's multiplying like in orders of magnitude. It's exponential. It's really remarkable. I mean, it highlights again how promising AI technology is becoming, but also it's going to be a pretty fierce competitive landscape.
It will. I mean, pretty soon the AIs will be building AIs.
Their own AIs.
I mean, they are basically, right? Yeah. So it's a little scary. I mean, that's probably another conversation in and of itself.
Yeah, we could dedicate a couple episodes to that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But all of that said, it'll be interesting to see how Axios' expertise and network can serve as a competitive advantage for Axios HQ, the specific tech spinoff, and also on the flip side, how Axios HQ can help Axios, the media company, continue to grow through more efficient and punchy communication.
Yeah, so a truly symbiotic relationship, right?
Yes.
I mean, a little quick elementary biology lesson that you didn't know you were going to get in your weekly dose of startups. It's like I feel like I remember learning like how the whale benefited from
the barnacles
that lived on its skin. I don't remember the inner workings, but I remember barnacles. I remember that being a prime example of a symbiotic relationship. And here we have the whale and Axios, 525 million. It's not a barnacle anymore. Axios HQ at almost $100 million valuation, but kind of similar.
Right, and we certainly want to hone in on the fact that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell while we're giving this quick biology lesson. But another thing that comes to mind, we're talking a lot of buzzwords here, AI, barnacles. It feels like almost vertical integration, right, between like a news outlet content company like Axios and then Axios HQ, which is helping people write content. It's like very, I guess, symbiotic, as you said.
Symbiotic. I mean, vertical integration, I got to say, that hasn't been brought out in like many, many episodes. So kudos to you, my friend.
Thank you. And for our next story on this week's dose, we have Blank Street Coffee. Loved by some, hated by others. But regardless, they just raised a $20 million investment round from some notable investors, including Left Lane Capital, Tiger Global, General Catalyst, and more. So Blank Street Coffee, pretty interesting story, started as a single coffee cart in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, the heart of coffee snobs in the United States at least. And they started with a simple promise: decent coffee delivered in an efficient manner and at lower prices than Starbucks and the other specialty cafes in the area.
And a lot of those.
A lot of those, again. But now fast forward 3 years, and Blank Street Coffee has expanded, again, exponentially from a single coffee cart to a coffee chain with over 50 locations in the United States, major cities like New York City, of course, and Boston, Washington, D.C., as well as 15 locations in the United Kingdom. So they've gone international as well.
Yeah, going global. Their secret sauce, or their secret blend, maybe we should say, Blank Street Coffee has positioned themselves as a more efficient alternative for making coffee, due in large part to their espresso machines that have automated a large part of the coffee making process, from grinding the beans to steaming the milk. And of course, dairy-free milk, I'm sure they've got available.
Right, and that's A to Z. Grinding beans to steaming milk, that is soup to nuts.
Yeah, and this $20 million raise comes less than 2 years after the company raised $67 million back in 2021, so continuing to pour fuel on that fire.
Right. And one thing we wanted to make a distinction of here is that whereas those previous raises were leveraged to promote rapid outlet expansion, as we mentioned, 50, 65 total new outlets and growing, I'm sure, this latest round is actually going to be used for something different. So they're planning on scaling out their weekly regulars subscription program, as well as explore food options in the existing stores. So as of now, they don't serve food. It's more so they partner with local bakeries and serve that at their store. Also, we wanted to note that it comes at a time where Starbucks is engaged in an ongoing, high-profile, very much in the news impasse with their baristas over a unionization effort, which, again, it seems like it's been dragging on for quite a while now.
Yeah. And, you mentioned that regulars program. Wanted to dive a little bit into that because it is a key differentiator for what they're trying to do here. Basically, customers can pay $12 a week, and they're going to get access to beverages every 2 hours at I guess, minimum 2 hours. They can have another beverage as part of being a regular. The co-founder Vinay Menda mentioned that the company is really looking to take a gamified approach to get customers continuing to come back regularly and earn those rewards.
Right. Another buzz gamification. Everyone's gamifying these days.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not gamifying, what are you doing? But they're not the first company to try a model like this. So we look back and we see Burger King had a short-lived $5 in-store coffee subscription. Didn't last too long. It didn't really add up.
Yeah.
Maybe hindsight is 2020, but
yeah,
I think foresight was 2020 for that one. You do have a success though in Panera Bread, the local favorite in New Jersey as well as in Chicago somehow. Yeah, the local Panera. Yeah. They have their unlimited sip club, which allows subscribers to order a beverage every 2 hours. Same thing, except $12 a month.
That's crazy.
So a really good deal there.
Yeah, like quick math, essentially 4 times a better deal than the regulars at Blank Street Coffee. That being said, both are great deals, and I think the logic here is that these coffee shops figure while you're there getting your coffee as part of your subscription, you're also going to spend some time and purchase some other things that maybe don't get covered in the subscription. So in the instance of Panera Bread, while you're there getting your Sip Club coffee, you may as well also get a broccoli cheddar soup and a bread bowl just because, it's cold outside, it's raining, and it smells good.
When in Rome. It also reminds me of like the movie theaters, right? They're really getting you on those snacks. And there's probably several other instances that we could mention of that same type of business model.
I'd say my personal favorite, and I think the most tangible example, is Trader Joe's. So they get you in with the cheap wine. Sometimes they have free samples too. But while you're there, you're going to get cheese, crackers, frozen goods, ice cream. All of a sudden, you're walking out with a cart of $50 or more because you went there to get cheap wine. It's really a genius strategy.
It really is, and it's all about the lifetime value of a customer, right? If we're breaking it down from a venture capitalist perspective, they're really looking at that. I'm sure that's what these VCs saw in the regulars program, is getting these folks to become lifetime, really loyal customers.
Right.
And then gamifying, the same thing goes along with that.
Right. And so we also mentioned Starbucks, and Blank Street is really taking an alternative approach to Starbucks, which is pretty fascinating. So most coffee shops strive to serve as a third place for people to convene. So that's outside of their home as well as their work office. And again, Starbucks is the most notable example of this. You see people sitting on their laptops all day. The whole Harry Potter series was written there.
Yeah, I have a quick little story. My dad, growing up, he was between jobs. I was young. I don't know, maybe 6 or 7, and somebody asked, where does your dad work? I was like, my dad works at Starbucks. He was just getting his work done at Starbucks. He wasn't a barista, but I didn't have the distinction.
In today's day of work from home, people are leveraging Starbucks as an office space too, right?
No, it's true.
And so alternatively to that example, which has obviously worked well for Starbucks, made them, the #1 coffee chain in the world, Blank Street Coffee locations typically have very limited seating, so they're more focused on bringing in repeat visitors, people who are coming every 2 hours for their subscription drink, as opposed to customers who are going to linger over one cup of coffee, write a few chapters in their book, and then leave.
Boy, that coffee per chapter there is not
ideal.
Yeah, it's those metrics that we need to be pushing to the forefront here for VCs.
Exactly. I think Blank Street, given the limited seating, it's more of a tweet while you get your coffee type of thing.
Exactly, yeah.
Definitely the ratio you're looking for. And another cool differentiator here is that since a lot of the prep work that's typically conducted by a barista is automated, the baristas actually have time to connect, engage, and build relationships with the customers. So whereas at Starbucks, you place your order, they misspell your name, then
Brendan.
If I had a nickel for every time, I'd afford one Starbucks drink. No, but you order and instantly they're grinding the beans, they're steaming the milk. All these things that we've mentioned are automated. Whereas here at Blank Street, you get to know the person and more than just what they like to order with their coffee. And if they're an oat milk, an almond milk, a regular milk kind of person, and I think that's also part of what brings customers coming back for more is, hey, I know this barista on a personal level. He knows how to spell my name, or she knows how to spell my name. I like it here.
Yeah. I mean, they're flipping the model on its head, and maybe it is ripe for disruption, the coffee space. I mean, clearly Starbucks is going to do their thing.
Right.
They've got these issues going on, as you mentioned earlier, but they're a well-oiled machine, right? But this is a spicy new blend of coffee.
That's a dark roast.
That's a dark roast. All right, wrapping up this week's dose, our fourth and final company of the day is New Zealand-based Halter, which just raised a whopping $79.5 million Series C led by Bessemer Partners, and a partner from Bessemer, Tess Hatch, joined the board as well. Always a good signal to see. The round also included participation from previous investors from the last round. Blackbird, Rocket Lab founder Peter Beck, which you'll hear about a little bit more soon, and Kiwi VC, Icehouse Ventures, and DC VC. Now, this all comes off the heels of a 2021 $32 million Series B, so continuing that growth at a pretty good pace there.
Right. Similar to Blank Street Coffee, honestly. But a little bit more about Halter. It was founded in 2016 by then 22-year-old Craig Piggott after working under Peter Beck at Rocket Lab, the aforementioned member of the cap table here for Halter. And Rocket Lab is actually a successful Kiwi aerospace manufacturer. And we need to distinguish that Kiwi in this context refers to a New Zealand native, not the popular fruit.
Yeah, it seemed like they were manufacturing kiwis in space.
There's a market for anything, right?
I'd try it.
That said, so what Halter has done is they've developed a GPS-enabled solar collar that guides cattle using sound and subtle vibrations.
Incredible technology there, and what they're deeming one of our favorite terms we've come across. And we love a good term here on the bill. They're calling it cowgorithm.
Love it.
Ah, so good, so good. A term which they've actually registered. So respect there. We were probably going to steal it, so it's good.
Good
that
call.
they,
Heads
good
up
that
play
they
by
did
them.
that. Yeah. Basically, these collars allow farmers to remotely control their livestock, keeping them out of harm's way and in the right place in certain spots of the land. And they deemed this also virtual fencing. So instead of having physical fences, you don't need those anymore. You can do it virtually. In addition to that, the collar collects nearly continuous data on the animals. Think about health data, concerns that the farmer may want to know about, and other changes in behavior that they're going to be interested in.
Right, so kind of a commonplace collar that you'd see on dogs these days, but some may wonder how ethical this is. Should we be giving cows Fitbits around their neck, kind of restricting their natural movement? Well, here's a little bit more on Halter's philosophy, and this is sourced from the website. Their system improves the welfare of animals without introducing compromises, and this is achieved in two parts. One, their animal learning model is centered around the welfare principle of preserving animal agency, and they do that by leveraging behavioral data to ensure that they're not only protecting but also promoting positive welfare for their livestock.
Right, and so that is pretty a lot of technical terminology,
Right.
like preserving animal agency. But I think what that means in layman's terms, basically, they're saying like this is actually somewhat more ethical and healthy than regular fencing, and not to even compare that to begin to even compare that to other agriculture,
Right.
and
Cattle prod.
I guess general livestock practices across the world. There's a lot worse things out there than this. So,
Right.
pretty ethical, pretty cool what they're doing. With the health and the well-being of these animals in mind.
Yeah, I think it's also cool and ethical and good for the cow's health that they're monitoring it, right? They can see if a cow is stressed, if they're diseased, if they're sick in any way.
If they're about to give birth, there's a lot of cool things they can track.
Right.
Yeah. And a little bit more on the business model. So based on the number of cows, Halter is actually just going to charge a very mainstream SaaS subscription, and they're going to maintain ownership of the collars themselves. So very run-of-the-mill owned hardware, software as a service business model.
We love that. Almost as good as a two-way marketplace.
Oh yeah, vertical
Don't
integration.
Even get me started.
Yeah. Boy, buzzwords coming back. It's almost the 1-year anniversary of Buzz. But the company will keep operating out of Auckland, New Zealand, and they actually have a pilot farm in the Waikato region of the North Island. But they have now registered the business in the U.S.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that that's a beautiful region of a beautiful part of the world, and it's. Honestly, this has been really refreshing. It's been a while since we covered an ag tech company, agricultural technology. And as far as we know, according to our Pillfolio, this was our very first startup covered out of New Zealand.
Yeah.
So an awesome company to round out this week's dose.
Indeed.
And also just to round out the different types of companies and cities that we like to cover on this show.
Yeah, no, for sure. And if Halter ever goes public, we'll certainly be providing livestock updates. So
that's pretty good. Hopefully this boosts our New Zealand viewership, honestly. Maybe we can hashtag New Zealand a couple times.
Sure, certainly. And with that, we'll wrap this one on up. We appreciate you guys listening, as always, coming hot off those South by Southwest interviews. We're glad to be back in the groove of the normal, traditional style episode.
Yep. Well said, partner. As always, thank you all for listening. Keep following and engaging us on social media.
Oh, yeah. This guy's the social media king. Come on, get this guy some engagement.
That's my father.
Yeah.
No, it's honestly been so much fun. We appreciate it. And, spread the word. I think you probably have a friend. Every listener probably has a friend or family member or two that would be interested to hear some of the companies we're covering. I mean, we're talking about cows and Fitbits. Where else do you hear that kind of stuff?
You can't. You just can't replicate it. And with that, we'll sign off. See you guys next week.
See you next week.
Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another dose of startups and venture capital. And as always, we appreciate our pilgrims spreading the word about the show. Share with your friends and help someone else make the pilgrimage. See you next time.
She told me that she only bumps my music when she's lonely. Thinks my vibe's a little low-key, okie dokie, that's alright, but